Joining us now is Dave Bossie. Dave Bossie was the deputy campaign manager for the Donald J. Trump for President campaign during the general election, was a big part of engineering one of the biggest upsets in the history of America, as we all know. Dave Bossie, also the long-term president and CEO of Citizens United. And Dave Bossie, the co-author of now 2 New York Times best-selling books, Let Trump Be Trump. Dave Bossie and Corey Lewandowski, get that on my website, Trump's Enemies. Corey Lewandowski and Dave Bossie. You can go to johnfredericksradio.com or your favorite bookstore and buy it right there. There's a little picture of it on my site. Bing, click it, buy it. It's good to go. But you know what else they're doing, Andrew?
What?
Chris?
What's that, John?
Okay. They got the hottest podcast in America.
I've heard you talk about this.
I'm telling you guys.
Whose is this?
It comes out on Thursday.
Lewandowski and Dave Bossie.
Really?
It's the hottest podcast. I mean, there's a million podcasts out there, right? There are a dime a dozen. This thing's hot. And it's totally organic, and it is done in D.C. They cut it on Thursdays. It's Bossie and Lewandowski, and they talk about all kinds of things, inside stuff you're not going to get anywhere else. This week, they had John Solomon on. John Solomon, long-term investigative reporter, Washington Times, The Hill, many other outlets.
No, right.
And they interviewed him about the Bob Mueller investigation. And you can get that. There's a couple ways to get that. The easiest way is to go to roughrider.media, and it's right there. You can go to my website. That's where it's hosted. We're also playing it starting Saturday at 11 a.m., Colleen says, on WJFNradio.com in Richmond,
wow.
Live 100.5 FM.
That's fantastic.
So you'll be able to hear it there on the radio as well, and then you're going to get hooked on it, and you want to get it all the time. And he's joining us now, Dave Bossie. Dave, you with John and Chris and Andrew. Good to have you with us, Dave.
Hey, guys. Good morning to you.
So, Dave, we got a lot to talk about today. I want to get to your podcast and your thoughts on the Mueller investigation, but I know you follow Virginia politics just a little bit, Dave. I know you follow it. You've been here, and you did a fundraiser for us a couple months back in Richmond. What do you make of this whole mess, Dave Bossie?
You people have really screwed up the Commonwealth of Virginia. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know what you're doing there, John, but you guys got to fix that place. It's a mess. It's an embarrassment across the entire country. No, of course. Look, it is. I think people wake up every day and they don't know what's going to happen next in Virginia. They've almost become immune to it. You have a governor that shouldn't be governor. You have a lieutenant governor that shouldn't be lieutenant governor. And you got a questionable attorney general who probably shouldn't be attorney general. How does anyone in America take anything in Virginia seriously after the antics that have gone on there?
Well, that's what we've been trying to figure out all day, and we're here live at the General Assembly in Speaker Kirk Cox's office, the Republican Speaker of the House. We're trying to figure it out. But, it's ironic, Dave, and I'll move on to some other stuff, but just you missed our earlier segment. What the Speaker said is it's the Republican Speaker for the Lieutenant Governor's accusers that are trying to give them the women a venue to come in and be heard in the Virginia General Assembly. It's the Democrats who are blocking them from coming. I mean, what a complete turnaround. It's the exact opposite of what the Democrats are saying, that give the accusers a voice, let them speak.
Must be. Look, believe the women. Believe all women. It was their mantra when they were trying to destroy a good man in Brett Kavanaugh, now Justice Kavanaugh. It was anything and everything to destroy a good man and his family with unbelievably irresponsible and unfounded, no facts to support any of these scurrilous allegations. But yet when you have two women who do remember the facts of the case, who do remember where they were and who they were with, and have contemporaneous knowledge of people that they told and of notes that they took, it's outrageous that the Democrats have this, double standard. But of course they do, because they're hypocrites. They don't believe in what's best for the nation. They believe the Democrat Party has become the party of accumulating power for power's sake. They don't want to move America forward. They don't have an agenda to move America forward. They have an agenda for themselves and for their slices of the political spectrum, because all they do is identity politics and try to pit one group against another. You know, that's what we have to get away from. And quite honestly, it's a frustrating thing to watch this continue in Virginia.
It's a comedy show, no question about it, and the height of hypocrisy. We're with Dave Bossie, best-selling author of 2 New York Times best-selling books, Let Trump Be Trump and Trump's Enemies. Get them on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or go to my website, johnfredericksradio.com. We make it easy for you to get them. Dave, I listened to your podcast last night. It was really fabulous. Tell our audience a little bit about the Mueller investigation, where it's going, and what do you think Mueller's ultimately will say in his report next week?
Well, you know, the Mueller report, as it's going to be, is going to flop. It's going to be exactly what the president and all of us have been saying for the last 2 years, which is there's obviously been no collusion, coordination, cooperation between the Trump campaign and Russia, that the only collusion was between Hillary Clinton and Russia. This is outrageous that this has been going on for 2 years. This investigation has been going on for 2 years, has cost tens of millions, about $40 million of taxpayer dollars, all for a political witch hunt to destroy and discredit this president. With that said, once the Mueller report comes out, and once there is no evidence whatsoever in the Mueller report, just like the Senate has found, just like the House has found, no evidence whatsoever to support any of these scurrilous allegations made by Democrats who just want to win the White House in 2020. That's all they're about. Is they're going to have to change their tactics, and they're going to have to pivot to other issues that the Mueller investigation had nothing to do with. And so they're going to try to get into the president's businesses and Trump organization and golf courses, because they have nothing. This is a witch hunt that they are on, and they're never going to stop. I'll just be honest with you. They're never going to stop, and we're going to have to beat them at the ballot box again.
So, listen, Dave, anticlimactic. Everyone have we heard that has any knowledge of this is telling us that there's no collusion and that the Mueller report is going to be anticlimactic. How did the Democrats spin that after this big lie, this hoax, this witch hunt, 2 years, like I say, $40 million? I mean, I realize they're going to come out and say we're going to...
It's very simple. You look at what little Adam Schiff has said. He says it doesn't matter what the Mueller report says. We're going to run our own investigation, as though he's going to investigate and have powers greater than Mueller. Mueller had the opportunity to have a grand jury testimony, subpoenas, depositions, and bring in every witness that he wanted. He interviewed hundreds of people. Schiff is doing this because it is political theater. And so he's saying it does not matter to him the results of Bob Mueller's investigation. We want to continue our own, which is just part of the witch hunt, the ongoing persecution of this president and his family and all of his supporters. And that's what this is about, nothing more, nothing less.
Wow, I tell you what, it is such a sham.
And let me just say, John Solomon, who we had on our podcast, which I would love for people to listen to the podcast, because John Solomon, said some incredible things there, including 2 government agents showing up to his house in the middle of the night to tell him he was on the right track. I mean, that was a mysterious meeting, and he talks about, because I asked him the question, how did you even start this investigation? How did you get to this? Because why does a guy, where do you even get the knowledge to do this? And he had 2 government G-men, intelligence officers, unannounced, show up to his home and tell him in his driveway that he needed to investigate these things. That's how this whole thing started, and nobody knows that. John Solomon tells some incredible stories on this podcast, and I think that people see him every day on Fox News. They see him every night on Hannity talking about this investigation. But I really think you're going to glean a lot from this interview.
Well, give us a little bird's eye here for those that hadn't heard it. And I know you. We want, and for the full interview, here's what you have to do to get their podcast. It's called Deep in the Swamp, and their most recent one just came out on Thursday. You can Google it on Google Play or iTunes. The easiest thing to do is go to roughrider.media, roughrider.media. Just plug that into your search bar. It's going to come right up, and you can click on it, check it out. It'll also be replayed on air on our radio station, 11 a.m. WJFN FM 100.5 on Monday. I'm sorry, Saturday. Check that, Saturday. Dave, so why did these people show up in the driveway? Like, what did Solomon say was their incentive to do that?
Solomon says on our podcast that he had done an interview on Hannity that evening, and that he was talking about the intelligence failures, the FISA abuses that had nothing to do with this case, but that just were in general because John, since 9/11, has been doing intelligence stories on failures of U.S. intelligence, on good jobs by U.S. intelligence, and he has been one of the great investigative journalists out there for with the Associated Press and with the Washington Post, and now with the Hill newspaper. He has done some of the best work, over the last 25 years. And so, he said, I did a hit on Hannity that night. And when I drove home from Hannity, which means that's, 9:30 or 10 o'clock, there's a, nondescript government SUV sitting at the end of his driveway. And when he got out of his car, he didn't know what was going to happen. And you got to hear it in his own words. So I really think, it's an incredible story of an investigative journalist being, nudged along and encouraged by these two men who showed up, in the middle of the night in his driveway. And I think that's a fairly, intense thing. And you got to hear John say it, because obviously he was very nervous when he got home, because he saw this vehicle. When he gets out of his car, two men exit that vehicle and approach him. I mean, you can only imagine. So I'd love for people to hear that story right from John's mouth, but also we get into the McCabe book. Andy McCabe, Lion Andy McCabe, who was fired by the FBI, has a new book out. We get into what's going to happen with the Mueller report. We get into all of these different issues related to the upcoming investigations in the House and in the Senate, and what's happened, with this president and how they've attacked him. So John Solomon, one of the great investigative reporters of our generation, was our guest on our podcast, and it's the Dave and Corey show from deep in the swamp in Washington D.C. So I really would love people to get to hear the full interview. We just want people to hear it. So look, I appreciate it, and it is going to be an intense next 6 months as it relates to the investigations in Congress, because I fully expect Congress is going to move to continue these investigations, these witch hunts into this president who's only trying to help this country, and he's never going to stop.
Dave Bossie, going to 2020, is there a candidate or a couple of Democratic candidates that you think the president wants to face off against more than others?
You know what? I think this president will take all comers, as they say. Anybody who wants to fight with this president better strap on the headset, because it's going to be a battle. But first of all, they're going to have to get through their own Democrat primaries. You think about, there's a level of talent amongst these 16, 18, 20, 25, however end up running, in the Democrat Party, it's going to be an intense fight, and there's huge rivalries, and you have one leftist lurching further than the next leftist, and you have some that are trying to search out to be seen as more moderate. The Democrat Party is not open to moderates anymore, and so you're going to see the left really control this Democrat primary process. You're going to see, them engaging and embracing the lunacy of this, AOC as she's known, this Green New Deal, which is just, fantasy and terror all wrapped up in one. It is this utopian idea that she has that some of these candidates are actually, instead of rejecting out of hand, are embracing. You see her affecting these folks in New York who she represents. She destroyed the Amazon deal. She destroyed 25,000 new jobs in New York because she's literally a lunatic. And by the way, who doesn't even understand basic economics. Somebody who is so stupid, she doesn't understand that she can't get $3 billion, to pay for more teachers and firefighters, which is what she said, when you don't have the revenue side of it. She doesn't, for somebody with I believe,
yes,
as an economics degree from Boston University, they need to get that back from her. Okay,
callback provision and refund her money.
Literally, I've seen some stupid members of Congress before, because that's the beauty of America. We can elect anybody we want every 2 years, and so we've got some stupid people who come through here. Really, I've not seen anybody rise to the level of this moron.
Saxman says they needs to get a refund.
No, BU should just cut her a check and say, "Here's your money back."
If the Democrats are serious,
stop using our name.
John, if the Democrats are serious, they have to find a candidate to primary her, okay, so that they can get that seat back from a lunatic who's not going to drive their party over the edge, because that's what she's doing. So I want to send her a campaign donation. I urge everyone to donate to her, because we want to keep her around, because she's only going to help us.
I tell you, Carolyn Maloney the other day, I was saying this earlier, Dave Bossie, progressive Democrat from New York, but, a reasonable human being. I've met her many times, and
she's a liberal, but not.
Yeah, she's a liberal, but you can have a conversation with her. She's you can have a conversation. You know her, I know her. Well, these jobs were in most of her district. She went nuts, and she's like, now our party stands for what? Driving away jobs so people can be unemployed? She said, what is my party going to?
They're not going to be unemployed, John. They're going to be paid to be not working.
These are 25,000 jobs with the average salary of $150,000 per year. That is not low wage, non-livable wages. Those are high quality jobs. So you have some people that are going to be the maintenance crew, and the janitors and the cafeteria workers that are going to make $50,000-$60,000 a year, plus overtime, plus benefits. And then you're going to have the executives who are going to make $200,000 a year. But they're all going to be jobs that would have benefited the New York area, the tri-state area, that would have benefited Queens and the boroughs around it. And instead, Amazon made a good deal, probably a better deal for the state and city than they wanted to, which is why as soon as they were attacked, they didn't try to renegotiate. They didn't say, let's fix this. They said, we're out of here, because they had already done a good deal. And they said, if we're not wanted here, we're going to go somewhere else. And so think about that. Jeff Bezos, who is a liberal, who owns the Washington Post, who owns Amazon, told New York to stick it in their hat, because we're not going to come somewhere where they want to destroy our company.
Dave Bossie, we're out of time, Dave. It's Dave, you're making us. That's pretty good. Look, you got to get to